The kingdom of my divine will in the midst of creatures. Book of Heaven, Volume 30, Part 4. December 25th, 1931. Desire of Jesus for the company of the creature. Extreme need of little child Jesus to be loved with divine love by his celestial mother. I feel myself as though being inundated by the sea of light of the divine will. Oh, how I would really like to be the tiny little fish in this sea, in such a way as to see nothing but light, and touch, breathe, live of light. Oh, how happy I would be to hear said to me that I am the daughter of the Celestial Father. But while I was thinking of this and other things, my dear life, the sweet and sovereign Jesus, visiting my little soul, made himself seen with seas of interminable light coming out from within his adorable person. And from within this light came out souls that populated the earth and all heaven. And Jesus, calling me, told me, "My daughter, come into this light. I want you here." The virtue of my light, its motion as fount of life, does nothing other than unleash souls, that is, life of creatures, from within its womb of light. Its power is so great that as it moves, it emits souls. And I want my beloved together with me in the womb of my light, that is, of my will. As souls are formed and emitted outside, I do not want to be alone, but I want your company, that you may recognize the great portent of the creation of souls, our excessive love. And since I want you in my will, I want to deposit them in you, entrust them to you, not leaving them alone while they journey as pilgrims through the earth, but having someone together with me who would protect them and defend them for me. Oh, how sweet is the company of one who takes care of the lives come out of me. This is so pleasing to me, that I make one who lives in my will the depository of the creation of souls, the channel by which I let them come out to the light, and the channel to let them re-enter into the celestial fatherland. Everything do I want to give to one who wants to live in my fiat. Their company is necessary to my love, to my outpourings, and to my works, for they want to be recognized. To act and not to be recognized, they are like works that cannot boast triumph, nor sing victory and glory. Therefore, do not deny me your company. You would deny your Jesus an outpouring of love, and my works would lack the cortege and the appreciation of the creature, and would remain like isolated works. And my love, constrained, would turn into justice. After this I was thinking about the birth of little baby Jesus. especially in the act when he came out of the maternal womb. And the celestial infant told me, "Dearest daughter, you must know that as soon as I unleashed myself from the womb of my mamma, I felt the need of a divine love and affection. I left my celestial father in the Imperium, loving each other with love fully divine. Everything was divine among the divine persons, affections, sanctity, power, and so forth. Now I did not want to change ways in coming upon earth. My divine will prepared for me the divine mother, in a way that I had divine father in heaven and divine mother on earth. And as soon as I came out of the maternal womb, feeling the extreme need of these divine affections, I ran into the arms of my mamma to receive, as the first food, first breath, first act of life for my tiny humanity, her divine love. And she unleashed the seas of divine love that my Fiat had formed in her. And she loved me with divine love, as my Father loved me in heaven. And oh, how happy I was! I found my paradise in the love of my mamma. Now, you know that true love never says enough. If it could say enough, it would lose the nature of the true divine love. And therefore, even from the arms of my mother, while I was taking the food, the breath, the love, the paradise that she gave me, my love extended, made itself immense, embraced the centuries. It searched, ran, called, raved, for it wanted the divine daughters. And my will, to calm my love, presented to me the divine daughters whom it would form for me in the course of the centuries. And I looked at them, I embraced them, I loved them, and I received the breath of their divine affections. And I saw that the divine queen would not remain alone, but would have the generation of my divine daughters and hers. My will knows how to change and give the transformation, and form the noble grafting from human to divine. Therefore, when I see you operate in it, I feel being given to me, and repeated for me, the paradise that my mamma gave me when she received me, a little baby, into her arms. Therefore, those who do and live in my divine will make arise and form the sweet and beautiful hope that its kingdom will come upon earth. And I shall delight in the paradise of the creature, which my Fiat has formed in them. And while my mind continued to think about what Jesus had told me, with a more intense and tender love, he added, "My good daughter, our love runs continuously toward the creature. Our loving motion, that never ceases, runs in the beating of the heart, in the thoughts of the mind, in the breathing of the lungs, in the blood that circulates. It runs, always runs, and vivifies, with our note and motion of love, the heartbeat, the thought, the breath. And it wants the encounter with the love palpitating, with the breath loving, with the thought that receives and gives us love. And while our love runs with unreachable rapidity, the love of the creature does not meet with ours. It remains behind, and does not follow the race of our love that runs without ever stopping. And as we see that we are not even followed, while we continue to go around in the heartbeat, in the breath, in the whole being of the creature, delirious, we exclaim, "Our love is not known, nor received, nor loved by the creature. And if she receives it, it is without knowing it." Oh, how hard it is to love and not to be loved! Yet, if our love did not run, their lives would cease in one instant. It would happen as to the clock. If it is wound, it makes its tick, tick heard, and it marks the hours and the minutes in an admirable way, and it serves to maintain the order of the day, the public order. If the winding ceases, the tick, tick can no longer be heard. It remains motionless, as though lifeless, and there can be many disorders because the clock is not moving. The winding of the creature is my love, such that, as this celestial winding runs, the heart palpitates, the blood circulates, the breath is formed. These can be called the hours, the minutes, the instants of the clock of the life of the creature. And in seeing that if I do not let the winding of my love run, they cannot live, and yet I am not loved back, my love continues its race, but with the attitude of dolorous and delirious love. Now, who will remove from us this sorrow, and will soothe our loving delirium? One who shall have our divine will as life. Our will, as life, shall form the winding in the heartbeat, in the breath, and so forth, of the creature. It shall form the sweet encounter with our love, and our winding and theirs shall proceed at the same rate. Our continuous tick will be followed by their tick, and our love shall no longer be alone in running, but will have its race together with the creature. Therefore, I want nothing other than my will in the creature. Fiat. January 3rd, 1932. Certainty of the coming of the kingdom of the divine will upon earth. How all difficulties will melt like snow before a burning sun. The human will is the dark room of the creature. My abandonment continues in the divine fiat, but I felt worried by the thought, how will this kingdom of the divine will ever be able to come? Sin abounds, evils get worse. It seems to me that the creatures are not disposed to receive such a great good. So much so that there is not a soul, as good as they may be, who truly wants to occupy himself with making known what regards the divine will. If God does not operate a prodigy of his omnipotence, the kingdom of the divine fiat may be in heaven, but as for the earth, it is useless to think about it. But while I was thinking of this and other things, my beloved Jesus, making his usual visit to my soul, told me, "My daughter, everything is possible for us. The impossibilities, the difficulties, the insurmountable obstacles of creatures melt before our Supreme Majesty, like snow in front of a burning sun. Everything is in whether we want it. All the rest is nothing." Did the same not happen in redemption? Sin abounded more than ever. Only a small group of people was awaiting the Messiah. And in the midst of this group, how many hypocrisies! How many sins of all kinds! They were often idolatrous. But it was decreed that I was to come upon earth. In the face of our decrees, all evils cannot prevent what we want to do. We are glorified more by one act alone of our will than we are offended by all the evils and sins committed by creatures, because our act of the will is divine and immense, and in its immensity it embraces all eternity, all centuries. It extends to all. Therefore, it is not of our infinite wisdom not to give life to even just one act of our will because of the evils of creatures. We place ourselves on our divine side, and we do what we have to do. And the creatures we leave by their human side. And acting as sovereigns, we lord it over everything and everyone, even over evil, and we put out our decrees. Now, just as my coming upon earth was our decree, so is our decree the kingdom of our will upon earth. Even more, it can be said that one and the other are one single decree, and having carried out the first act of this decree, we are to carry out the second. It is true that we pace ourselves according to the good disposition of the creatures, in order to give the great good that an act of our will can produce. And therefore at most we take time, and we make our way in the midst of their evils, in order to dispose them. It is true that the times are sad. The peoples themselves are tired. They see all the ways closed to them. They can find no way out, even for the necessary natural means. The oppressions, the demands of the leaders are unbearable. Just penalty, since they have elected as leaders godless men of evil life, without a just right to be leaders, who deserved a prison more than the right of regime. Many thrones and empires have been overthrown, and those few that are left are all vacillating and about to be overthrown. So the earth shall remain almost without kings in the hands of iniquitous men. Poor peoples, poor children of mine, under the regime of men without pity, without a heart, and without the grace to be able to act as guides for their subjects. Indeed, the epoch of the Jewish people is being repeated, as they remained without a king when I was near to coming upon earth, and were under the dominion of an alien empire, of barbarous and idolatrous men who did not even know their Creator. Yet this was the sign of my nearing coming into their midst, That epoch and this one hold hands in many things, and the disappearance of thrones and empires is the announcement that the kingdom of my divine will is not far, it having to be a universal, pacific kingdom. There will be no need of kings to dominate it. Each one will be a king to himself. My will shall be for them law, guide, support, life, and absolute king of all and of each one. And all the arbitrary and rightless leaders shall be shattered like dust in the wind. The nations shall continue to fight against one another, some by war, some by revolution, among themselves and against my church. They have a fire in their midst that devours them, that gives them no peace, and they can give no peace. It is the fire of sin and the fire of acting without God that gives them no peace. And they shall never make peace if they do not call God into their midst as regime and bond of union and of peace. And I let them do, and I shall make them touch with their own hands what it means to act without God. But this does not prevent the kingdom of my supreme Fiat from coming. This is all creatures' stuff of the low world, which my power knocks down and disperses whenever it wants, and it makes the most serene sky and the most refulgent sun arise from the storm. On the other hand, the kingdom of my divine will is from on high, from the heavens, formed and decreed in the midst of the divine persons. No one can touch it or disperse it. First, we will deal about it with one creature alone, forming the first kingdom in her, then with few, and then making use of our omnipotence, we shall divulge it everywhere. Be certain, do not worry because evils get worse. Our power, our winning love that has the virtue of always winning, our will that can do everything, and with invincible patience knows how to wait even for centuries. But what it wants and has to do is worth more than all the evils of creatures. In the face of its invincible power and its infinite value, their evils will be like little drops of water, like many trifles, that shall serve for the triumph of our love and for the greater glory of our fulfilled will. And then, when we have the great glory of forming this kingdom inside one creature alone, she will be like sun, such that all have the right to enjoy and possess its light. More than sun, she shall give to all creatures the right to possess a kingdom so holy, and we, with infinite wisdom, shall abound with graces, with lights, with helps, with surprising means, so that they may let the kingdom of my will reign in their midst. Therefore, let me do. When it is your Jesus that has told you this, that is enough. It is as though already done. All evils, and all creatures together, have no power and no right over our will, nor can they prevent a single act of our will. wanted by decrees of our wisdom. Then I continued to think about the divine fiat, and my sweet Jesus added, "My daughter, my will is light. The human will is the dark room in which the poor creature lives. As my will enters into this dark room, it remains all invested by this light that illumines everything, even the most remote and little hiding places of the soul. It makes itself light of the thought, of the word, of the works, of the steps, but with a marvelous variety. The thought takes on a variety of colors, animated by the light. The word takes on another variety of colors. The action, the step, other varieties of colors. And as she repeats the thought, the word, the action, the step, animated by the light of my will, so are the tones of the divine colors formed. And the beauty of it is that they are all colors animated by light. Oh, how beautiful it is to see the creature animated by the iris of our divine colors! It is one of the most beautiful scenes that she presents to us and makes us enjoy. We look at her and we see that those are nothing other than the reflection of our thoughts, of our actions, and so forth, that has formed the variety of our divine colors. And our will makes display of light in the acts of the creature, who with her sweet enchantment enraptures us, and makes us the spectators of our acts. And oh, how we await, with all love, the repetition of these scenes so beautiful and delightful. Fiat. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 30, Part 4. Fiat.